All right, have and have not fans. Now, I'm sorry for the late videos, but it's been a busy week for me outside of, well, the haves and the have nots. And honestly, after the whole situation with one of my videos being taken down by Tyler Perry Studios, I was kind of pissed off about it. So, I just wanted to take some time back to kind of reflect and think about what to do about the videos in the future. Now, last week's episode, I decided not to do a episode review video because I want to be honest. I mean, most of the lines and dialogue is stuff we've already heard from other characters. Just, mention to other characters like, okay, so the week before last, we had Jeffrey talking to Veronica and Catherine about Wyatt's situation. Then in this episode, he does the same to Jim and David. And then we have Catherine and, Hannah talking. And then we have Veronica and Justin taking up the first 5 to 7 minutes there. I'm not going to lie, that was a very interesting encounter. And then finally, the biggest thing, of course, was Charles and Candace. So I just wanted to kind of break down the episode into maybe 3 or 4 videos, just talking about the different parts. Obviously, the biggest one being the Candace and Charles situation. And the part that tripped me out the most was when all those Secret Service busted the room. And she was like, this is illegal. And I'm thinking to myself, of all the people on the haves and the have-nots, you have the nerve to talk about what's legal and what's not after all the illegal activity you have committed even before the series started, and you want to point somebody else out for that. So that part just kind of irked me right there. And this isn't me doing a Candace hate video. That is not the case here. This is pretty much just a breakdown of a video I did even, I believe it was last week, in terms of, is Candace about to lose it all? Because remember, without Oscar in her corner, she doesn't have any money. And, she's pretty much either cut ties with everybody who would lend her a helping hand, or the people in her life who she thinks is on her side are actually two-faced and want her to fall, aka Erica. Now, I'm just thinking about, Candace was kind of, I wouldn't say she's out of character, but let's put it this way. When I'm talking about this, I'm talking about her making decisions that seem unlike, her usual self. So I wouldn't say she was completely out of character, because she was questioning the right things in terms of Charles. It's like, wait a minute, so Secret Service is allowing your kids just to open a door to a stranger's hotel room? Yeah, I just want them to have as normal life as possible. Okay, there were plenty of times where Candace and Charles were talking where she would ask a legitimate question because that's Candace, but then he'll give like a confident answer, and she'll be like, okay, what just happened was weird, but yeah, I guess that makes sense. And then I guess the biggest thing for me, aside from the Secret Service thing with the kids, was when Charles came over to her room and she was in her big girl pose, just dominating the scene in terms of telling Charles what to do. If you look closely, you just notice his character shift dramatically, and all it took was him going from a smile to like a serious face, where they were just doing some playful banter in terms like, oh, you like dominating, right, making demands and whatnot. And then it went from, okay, now let's get serious, let's talk about all those videos and all you have of me. Oh, I gave them all to you, or I deleted them, or something like that. It's like, oh no, it's fun. And just that little bit of dialogue there, and then he turned like, oh, I'm not just going to wait for I'm not the kind of guy to wait for the other shoe to drop. And then Candace like, ooh, let's just start dropping shoes now. And again, just like little stuff like that, I'm just like, Candace, you better be careful, because even she's like, wait, why are you so serious all of a sudden? I'm just like, Candace, you're literally walking into a trap. And again, it all comes back to her ignoring Oscar's warning, like, hey, you don't want to mess with these people, this is way out of your league. Because there's a difference between her interactions with Charles now as opposed to Oscar, where she was fighting to keep her walls up, which eventually Oscar was able to break through, and then it turned out to be all a game that she got played in. This scenario is like she thinks she has the upper hand, but in reality, no, she's literally been losing this battle to begin with, because that moves on to the final point when Secret Service busts through the door. They talk about the terrorist activity on the computer, which was not hers, by the way. Remember, Oscar playing the computer. Again, was that a contingency plan in terms of if Candace went rogue, boom, everything was on that computer. So honestly, there's no telling what's going to happen, because again, the fact that Candace was screwed when Charles like, look at me, and she had to turn her face around in disgust. I'm just like, Yeah, she's screwed, because when was the last time you seen Candace in a situation like this? Not so much where her life is on the line in terms of Warlock, but in terms of her literally being screwed. I mean, completely screwed. Because again, in preview for next week, so again, I really can't talk too much about it because the preview is going to tell more in terms of, oh yeah, that last woman, well, we gave her life in prison, so what's going to happen to Candace? And, you know, long story short, it seems like Veronica might be able to help him out, because in the preview, it looks like, you know, she's going to go over to help Benny, because remember, she told Mitch that she'd come down to the police station to help him out, because for some reason, him being detained seems to be an extension of the Secret Service is thinking, oh, we believe you're trying to corrupt or, you know, mishandle a presidential candidate. So that's a bit of a stretch, if you ask me, because honestly, Benny had nothing to do with that. But again, plot. Now, it looks like, you know, Charles has the entire story on Candace in terms of blackmailing powerful figures, so he must know about the likes of, you know, Jim Cryer and, you know, and the list goes on of all of her activity. So it seems like she might be put in a tight spot, but again, Veronica might be the one to help him out. Now, I'm thinking about everything that's going on here, and it's really confusing, because I want to be honest, and I said this from the beginning, I was not a big fan of the Charles and Candace plot, because honestly, it seems a bit, well, let's just be honest, it seems a bit outrageous when you think about it, because you have her going from, you know, street level thugs to, you know, the judge who wanted to be governor, and now you have her screwing around with a presidential candidate, and this just opens a can of worms to an entirely new level of ridiculousness. And with the haves and the have-nots, you know, seemingly ending in 2019, I don't really want this many crazy plot lines to be going on within the same time period, you know, because there's just so many unexplored storylines we haven't even touched upon yet from like season 2, season 3, and now we're just talking about presidential candidates. So again, it just seems like there's way too much going on, but there's way too little being resolved. That's just my own personal opinion. Now, do I feel sorry for Candace? Absolutely not, because again, it's kind of like Quincy Jr. Erica tried to tell her, hey, give Quincy over to your mom, that way, you know, if Warlock keeps peeking his nose around here, he won't get hurt. Then look what happened. Oscar's like, look, you're playing a game you don't understand. Do the long haul, work with me. No, I'm going to do this myself. Now she is ended up in the position she's in. So again, there's no remorse for Candace on my part, because she was extended the olive branch on multiple occasions, but she turned them down. And now look at her. Every time she tried to do something by herself, boom, she gets, you know, she loses it all. So there's no telling what's going to happen, but I do feel that Veronica might help out, because again, it flashes forward to the whole, okay, Candace goes over to the motel, sees the wreckage, and then knows what happens to her son. Then of course we have the scene where she's going off at Hannah at the funeral. Now with that being said, this video isn't terribly long. It was just my initial thoughts on the ridiculousness of Candace letting down her guard again, thinking that she's been in control again, only to find out she's losing a game that she never even knew she was playing. Now let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think is going to happen to Candace? Do you think that she was stupid for letting her guard down? Because again, even Oscar called it stupid, but in my case, I think it was just pure ignorance. Now, maybe this next episode will get more information, but with that being said, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you later.